Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the first edition of Let That Sink In, where I'm your host, Don P. I want to thank you for tuning in. With this podcast, I'm going to give you great content. I have launched this podcast for free thinkers, people with opinions, and for people that have things to get off their chest. We will be discussing thought-provoking topics like hot topics, culture, relationship, sports, and politics a little bit because those topics usually divide the room, and the only way we will get an understanding is to have dialogue. We're going to ruffle some feathers and have some difficult conversations. So pull up a seat and let's talk. At the end of the day, I want to make people think again. It's still free to think. I want to spark these brilliant minds out there and get back to resilient people we are. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk. So let's get to it. So, like I said, I built this podcast because I think right now we need to have a lot of dialogue because there's a lot of miseducation out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there. So only way we're going to get an understanding is if we talk about it. So I built this podcast so we're going to have some great conversations. We're going to talk about some things that, need to be talked about, some things we want to talk about, but also we're going to have fun. We're going to do some things. We're going to do some things that might, like I say, ruffle a little feathers because I really don't want to get into religion and politics because, like I said, it divides the room. But sometimes we just need to know what side of the line people stand and what's really going on. I just want people to speak from the heart. And that's what I want this podcast to be. I want people to really say what's on their mind and not say things that's politically correct. I know it's a time now where people don't feel like they can say what they really feel. But you're going to have to just stand up for yourself and say what you feel. And with this platform, I feel that we're going to have that. It's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's a lot of things that's shaking the room, and we're going to talk about them. So for all you people that tuning in, tell all your friends, family to subscribe, share, and comment on these on this podcast. Like I said, let that sink in. Main goal is mind elevation. Get people to think again because I feel that a lot of times we've been dumbed down here in society as a whole lately because we have a lot of things that's going on and people just don't want to talk about it or don't want to deal with it, but it affects us indirectly and directly, and we're going to have to talk about it, and hopefully we can get a movement going that will get us to the point where we can make change. And if you know anything, in Georgia, they just had a runoff with Warnock and Herschel Walker. And that's one of the biggest disgraceful races that has ever been ran. I think it might be I'll say one or two. Because the one is Donald Trump. I don't have any qualms about Republicans being in office as president, Democrats, because I'm really not into politics like that because we're going to get into that later. So I'm not going to go deep into that right now, but I don't have anything about a Republican being president, but it's who is the Republican being president that I'm speaking of. But like I said, we're going to have a lot of those topics later on, because this is our first edition, and this is just an intro to let you know that we're coming. We're out here. This podcast is being launched, and this is the first episode, our intro. So I want to see a lot of you guys back. I want you to tell your friends. I want you to tell your families, and I want you to tune in. I want you to subscribe. So when we come out with content, you will be alarmed. If you just click the little bell, you'll get your notifications on when we're posting a new episode. And we're gonna do this consistently. We're gonna do it weekly. Uh, we're gonna be here on a consistent basis. So I want you to look for us. And as you can see from the setup, I'm gonna have guests here, and we're gonna have some intellectual discussions. We're gonna have some dialogue, and we're gonna have some critical thinking. And I, like I said, I just want everybody to speak from the heart, because that's who we are. Who we are from our heart is who we are. Uh, so with that being said, I'm your host, Don P, and I want to see you back again. And like I said before, welcome to Let That Sink In. And I want to see you next week, because that's when we're going to do our first topic. And we're going to have some discussion. I want you to comment, subscribe, share these videos. I want you to chime in. I want you to have your comments. And one thing I do want to say is just let everybody be respectful. Be respectful of other people, even if you don't agree with what the person is saying, or if you don't agree with what I'm saying. Just be respectful, because there's no need for disrespect, because we're not going to get an understanding if we go out and disrespect one another. So we're not going to disrespect people on this podcast, on this platform, and we're going to be respectful, and we're going to give some good information. We're going to give some opinions. We're going to give facts, and we're just going to talk. So yeah, that's why I started this podcast. So again, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Don P, and I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you next week. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for tuning in.